Bitcoin is perfect money, and it's taken a million years to get to Bitcoin. We finally achieved it. And now it's a day of reckoning. If you have no coin, you'll probably be living in the equivalent of hell. If you have coin, you will be living in heaven. So I always say that money existed before the state. Bitcoin separates money from state. Bitcoin kills the state, killing the state and central banks. So we're entering into a post-state, post-central bank world. Of the past 300 years. And we're in actually a post-money world where just our love is the guiding principle of our existence as humans on planet Earth. And that's made possible by Bitcoin.
Bitcoin is once again at the center of the global financial conversation, holding above $115,000 as the tension between collapsing fiat systems and growing institutional adoption becomes impossible to ignore. BlackRock's IBIT alone has pulled in tens of billions, and governments from the United States to Bhutan are talking about building Bitcoin reserves, turning what was once dismissed as speculation into strategic policy. Meanwhile, inflation fears and record global debt continue to gnaw at the credibility of fiat currencies, while investors position Bitcoin as both a hedge and a geopolitical asset. Unbeknown to many, the world is beginning to split between those who hold Bitcoin and those who don't, and that dividing line is looking less like a slogan and more like a hard economic reality. What strikes me is how this moment reflects a deeper truth. Bitcoin isn't just another investment cycle. It's the beginnings of a transition away from state-controlled money. And that's where Max Keiser takes the conversation further. He argues that Bitcoin is perfect money, capable of stripping power from central banks and even disintermediating the nation-state itself. His view is blunt. If you hold Bitcoin, you stand to thrive in the new order. If not, you risk being left behind. And in a world where governments still print endlessly to fund wars and cover deficits, his case for Bitcoin as the antidote is becoming harder to ignore. But for me, the most compelling part isn't just the price projections. It's his take on timing, on the cultural and geopolitical shifts that could come with hyper-Bitcoinization, and on what a post-fiat, post-state world might actually look like. Whether you agree or not, these ideas force us to confront what happens if Bitcoin keeps advancing, while fiat systems keep failing. Stick around until the end, because the predictions you'll hear go far beyond charts and numbers. They speak to the future of money, power, and society itself. Also guys, if you like our cryptocurrency content, please remember to like and subscribe to stay up to date. Now, let's hear Max's thoughts.
The next burst up in price is what you wrote. The next burst up in price is the only one that matters. The world will be permanently bifurcated into coiners and no coiners. The template will be set for the next 500 years. Can you explain what you mean?
Sure, of course I can explain what I mean. You have a world where the train is leaving the station. You know, Bitcoin has changed everything fundamentally. And those with coin, or the coiners, versus those without coins, the no coiners, there will be a split in the world and society. And we won't be looking at the world in terms of nation states anymore. I think the nation state becomes passé or disintermediated. Central banks are obliterated. And you have the global tribe of millions of Bitcoiners who have all the money. And then there'll be everybody else who doesn't have it. They'll just be living in a different reality. And that template will be set for 500 years because Bitcoin is perfect money, and it's taken a million years to get to Bitcoin. We finally achieved it. And now it's a day of reckoning. If you have no coin, you'll probably be living in the equivalent of hell. If you have coin, you will be living in heaven.
Are you communicating this just to, relate the urgency of the timing of getting Bitcoin basically now?
Am I being hyperbolic? No, I'm being as pragmatic as possible. This is my pragmatic communication to those out there to prepare. Because some people don't want to ever own a Bitcoin because it's like alcoholics and drug addicts. They're in denial about their alcoholism or drug addiction, and they love their fiat money. They're addicted to fiat money. That's the problem in the world today. You have fiat money addicts. Mm-hmm. And you can't get an addict to or an alcoholic to sober up if they don't want to, if they're not ready. And so they have to hit their bottom. And a lot of people just will never hit their bottom in time to become Bitcoiners. And those people will be kind of erased from history.
Why now? Why is now the most important price surge? Is it because if you have some money you can still get one coin, or what's the point of calling it now?
Right now, because at 100,000 you have those people with coins entering the realm of extreme wealth, and as you get to 200,000, 300,000, 500,000, like Adam Back just threw 30,000 coins at Howard Lutnick over there at Cantor Fitzgerald. That's $3 billion. Now, he's got probably 20 or 30 billion dollars worth of Bitcoin. There's a lot of people out there with billions and billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin. They haven't really done much over the past 10 or 15 years because they've been waiting for the price to hit a certain threshold and waiting for the world to get to a certain point where they feel comfortable now being in this new reality, this new world. And so that $100,000 was a very significant price point. And as you get higher, the states will disintegrate because states don't have any Bitcoin, so they will disintegrate and they'll go to war with each other. I was speaking with a gentleman last night from Pakistan, and Pakistan and India recently got into a bit of a kerfuffle, a jet fight in the air.
Mm-hmm.
He was saying, well, the Pakistani jets cost like 50 million and their jets cost 250 million, and we shot down their jets and our bombs are 50 million. And I said, let me explain to you how a Bitcoiner sees this. A Bitcoiner looks at you, two countries, going into debt to buy weapons to kill each other, which you then have to pay for by printing more money or borrowing more money. That means my Bitcoin goes higher. So, I could try to get you to buy Bitcoin and save you, but I'm conflicted, because the more you kill each other, the more my Bitcoin is worth. So, I'm conflicted. You want me to help you, but you have to bottom out in the fiat money world. You have to bottom out on warmongering. You have to bottom out on your religious nonsense, to accept Bitcoin. If you're not going to, I don't care, because you're just going to print money to add ad nauseum to infinity. And it just means Bitcoin goes to, keeps going higher and higher. So, we'll see. The solution is here for you, but if you don't want it, I don't care.
Did you not tell him about any hash war concepts?
I do, but again, if you're not ready to hear the message, it's not. It goes in one ear out the other because you're fixed. You're addicted. It's like telling an alcoholic. It's saying, "You're an alcoholic. You don't drink," and they're like, "No, I just need this. I'll quit after this next drink," or "I'm not an alcoholic. My life's great." They say, living in the gutter, right? It's a disease. Fiat money is a disease, and it's now about to wipe out billions.
The global financial system is breaking down in real time. US debt has surged past $37 trillion, with over $1 trillion a year now spent just on interest payments. In this chaos, Bitcoin isn't just rising, it's accelerating. Bitcoin ETFs already hold nearly $160 billion, closing in fast on gold funds. Institutions are piling in, but the deeper story is what this means for sovereignty, for freedom, for money itself. This is where Max Keiser's perspective hits hardest. He argues that Bitcoin doesn't simply compete with fiat, it ends the centuries-long monopoly of the state over money. It's the tool that makes a post-state, post-central bank world possible. In that future, control doesn't sit with politicians or treasuries, it sits with individuals running nodes, households and communities pooling resources, forming what Keiser calls node nations. He paints the picture of groups that gather, act and dissolve with perfect freedom, never bound by a central command. That's what Bitcoin enables, a world of voluntary, mobile, self-organizing societies beyond state control. But although ETFs and custodians may expand adoption, they also invite government pressure. It's important to remember that real independence only comes with self-custody, holding your own keys, your own money. Because when the debt spiral accelerates, when fiat loses credibility, and when trust in institutions collapses, the choice is stark. Remain tied to a failing order, or step into a system designed for freedom. Bitcoin, in this vision, isn't just an asset. It's the lifeboat, and perhaps the foundation for a new era where money finally serves people, not power.
What was the moment for you? You talk about, you have to be ready. Michael Saylor talks about, Bitcoin is there when you have a need. What was the specific moment for you personally?
Well, I saw that this was a way to separate money from state, which has always been the Hayekian dream. And in 1984, Hayek was saying, you know, that he doesn't imagine there will ever be a money that will be outside state control unless there was some sly workaround.
Yeah.
Right. And Bitcoin is that sly workaround. So I always say that money existed before the state. Bitcoin separates money from state. Bitcoin kills the state. So this killing the state and central banks. So we're entering into a post-state, post-central bank world. So of the past 300 years.
Can you describe that world, especially with regards to El Salvador, maybe, because you work for a state, don't you?
Well, the goal here is to kill the state by working on something called Node Nation, so that every Salvadoran household has a Bitcoin node, and they have all the money. The state has no money. The state just does your bidding. So if you need a new airport, the node owners and the Bitcoin owners who own the state's money would decide whether or not to build that airport. Not the state doesn't have any money. The state is bankrupt, as it should be. The state should not have any money. They should not control the money. So that's my goal here, as I've expressed to the president many times. And I think that's where we're headed. And I think that's the future, is that you have the node owners who kind of run the world, and then they congregate in different groupings or tribes. And they come and they go, and it's like murmurations of starlings in the sky. You know, they come together and you see these huge murmurations where starlings are flying in synchronization, and it looks fantastic, and then they disappear, right? And I think that's the future for Bitcoiners, that they come together for a few years or a few weeks or a few hours, and then they fly away and they create other groups, and they're totally mobile, they're totally free, because Bitcoin as perfect money means that we are living the dream hidden in our collective unconscious. And ultimately, my Bitcoin or your Bitcoin or my Bitcoin, and we're in actually a post-money world where just our love is the guiding principle of our existence as humans on planet Earth, and that's made possible by Bitcoin.
Bitcoin now stands as the endgame of money, the perfect form that humanity has taken millennia to reach. Max Keiser warns that the reckoning is here. The world is splitting into two paths. On one side, those who hold Bitcoin. On the other, those left behind in the collapsing fiat system. Governments are drowning in debt, with US interest payments alone exceeding $1 trillion a year. Central banks are out of options, forced to print more, fueling inflation and instability. In that chaos, Bitcoin becomes more than a safe haven. It becomes the line that divides the future. The next surge in price will set the template for centuries. Nation-states weaken, central banks disintegrate, and what rises in their place are node nations, decentralized communities of Bitcoiners who control their own resources and shape their own societies. Every war funded by fiat, every crisis paid for with printed money, only strengthens this shift. We already see it in the real world. ETFs holding $160 billion, corporations like Strategy and Cantor Fitzgerald with billions in Bitcoin, and El Salvador making Bitcoin legal tender. The tide is turning, but sovereignty only comes through self-custody, holding your own keys in a world where states have none. Keiser calls this a post-state, post-central bank reality. Even a post-money world where freedom, love, and human connection take center stage. That vision may sound radical, but in the face of unraveling fiat systems, it feels inevitable. The choice could not be clearer. Stay bound to the failures of the old order, or step into the future of incorruptible money. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please remember to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments section below.